Day 13. Why and what? I would imagine that if I had to narrow down the main questions people would have about my life, it would be, why did I decide to seek God? And what happened once I did? I believe I mentioned it's been over 20 years since I initially desperately reached out. I was searching for healing, for purpose, and I admit I was searching for things that at the time I couldn't articulate the specific need. We attended a dramatic production at a local church on an evening after intense business negotiations to keep our dealership alive. It was another huge challenge in our already chaos-filled lives. I knew something just had to be off with me. I knew somehow there had to be something better. I knew I had to lay down all my sin, my intense anger, and I knew I needed forgiveness. I wanted an end to the ongoing torment. That web of negative emotions and my thoughts had become like an iron screen over my heart, and that became like thick metal cables of deep emotional and spiritual bondage. It had become wrapped so tightly around me, I became emotionally handicapped in my day-to-day life. I just couldn't fight anymore. I couldn't see a way out, up, or over the life that was facing me. I felt as though I had tried everything I knew to fix things. I stepped out in faith that night before I even got to the church. There was a small, still voice inside of me that somehow whispered to my very soul. I didn't actually hear what it said, but somehow I felt it. I sensed a hope for something new, something different. Strangely, I didn't even know what that was. I felt my focus shift from this end that I had been stuck spiraling in to a beginning. After the presentation, I immediately stood when there was an altar call. And although I didn't completely understand how, what, or why, I knew I had to make peace with God. I knew I needed prayer. I knew I had to let go of how I was living my life, and I knew I could no longer exist in this world without God beside me, with me, in my life, or in me. Isaiah 30:19-22 in the Message translation says, "Oh yes, people of Zion, citizens of Jerusalem, your time of tears is over. Cry for help and you will find its grace and more grace. The moment he hears, he'll answer. Just as the Master kept you alive during those hard times, he'll keep your teacher alive and present among you. Your teacher will be right there, local and on the job, urging you on whenever you wander, left or right. This is the right road. Walk down this road. You'll scrap your expensive and fashionable God images. You'll throw them in the trash as so much garbage, saying, 'Good riddance.'" So for those of you wondering what happened, I was prayed over and I cried. As a group, we were ushered down to a lower level and given resources and welcomed with refreshments. For me, it was like everything was the same, but everything had become totally different. I had a weight on me, but it was no longer fear, guilt, shame, anxiety, or anger. It was peace, almost to the point where I felt heavily medicated. A heavy, warm presence of peace. I didn't feel like interacting or engaging. I just wanted to go home and be in the presence of whatever this was and then sleep. You see, you don't need to fix yourself before you reach out to God, and you certainly don't need to have all the answers within you. God has a plan and a purpose for every single one of us. Your path may be totally different than mine, but there is a plan. That means you matter. Your life, your today, and your future, it matters to God. He cares about you and all things concerning you. 1 Peter 5:7 in the Amplified Version says, casting the whole of your care, all your anxieties, all your worries, all your concerns, once and for all on Him. For He cares for you affectionately and cares about you watchfully. You have great value to Him. He desires to have a relationship with you and to guide you through this life, to encourage you in finding your way to that purpose, His purpose, so you can experience the impact and the fulfillment of walking that out together with Him. I must confess, the process of healing and deliverance after that night took me much longer than I expected. Not because of God, but sadly because of me. After a powerful experience like that, you're probably wondering how I could fall back into my old thinking. Well, I was deeply conditioned and deeply connected to my pain. I was also very hard-hearted and, yes, hard to believe, but I was very stubborn. The complexities of those webs, the screen, and the cables, in my case, needed to be removed slowly. Now, God can and does supernaturally, instantaneously heal or release some people in an instant. It's been different for me. Primarily by my own doing, unless, of course, it could have been God's plan all along. Somehow that by going through this very long and painful process, I can share it with you. I prefer to think it was God's plan, but I would be lying if I didn't admit to you that I know without a doubt that my thoughts and my actions, my sin, delayed my healing and perhaps still are. I don't want the same for you. I'm rather passionate about sharing the intimate details of my struggles so that you might consider different choices. It can literally cost you decades of your life. If you feel lost in a distant place and don't know how to make your way to God, He is only a prayer away. It doesn't matter how you got lost or what you did along the way. It matters what you do today. It matters what you do now. 2 Chronicles 7:14 in the NIV says, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and I will heal their land." Jeremiah 46:27 in the NIV says, "Do not be afraid, Jacob, my servant. Do not be dismayed, Israel. I will surely save you out of a distant place, your descendants from the land of their exile. Jacob will again have peace and security, and no one will make him afraid. So that's briefly my story. But my prayer for you today is based out of that 2 Chronicles 7:14. I pray that you will know that you are God's people, that you are God's child, and that you are called by His name, and that you will find your way to humble yourself and pray and seek His face and turn from your wicked ways, which basically just means, your sin, your loss, your destruction, all of it, our flesh. And then that God will hear from heaven and He will forgive you. He will forgive your sin and He will heal your land. I declare that today, that God will forgive you and He will heal your land. He will heal your heart. He will heal your mind. He will heal your financial situation. He will heal your marriage, or He will heal the disconnect with your children, or He will heal your body so that you can have children, or He will heal you, your hopes and your dreams, so that you can find that life partner that you desire. And just as I did that day, I just came with all my stuff and I just laid it all down at God's feet, and I just said, I just can't do this anymore, God. I need your help. Forgive me and cleanse me and come into my life and heal me and grow me into the woman, the mom, the wife, the human that you desire me to be. I'm so grateful for God's mercy and grace. I thank you, Lord, that you always have a plan. So today I bless you. I thank God for you. And I encourage you. It is so worth it to have a relationship with Jesus. It'll change your life forever.